I'm prepping for my first ever shop launch, so let's make some stickers from start to finish. Everything's going to be chaptered below, so just skip to the section that you need.
I knew for my launch I wanted some one piece art, so I mentally prepared myself and went on Pinterest to start looking. With anything you make, you should look up references to get inspiration and help get the ideas flowing. And Pinterest is just a great starting point for ideas because there's literally everything here. They make it super easy to collect images, so I looked straight up just typed in One Piece fan art and started collecting all the images I liked to a board. The problem with Pinterest is that you can get sucked into the trap of just, ooh, pretty image, ooh, pretty image, ooh, pretty image. So be focused when you're on this website. I came here for One Piece fan art. I'm staying to One Piece fan art, and I totally didn't get distracted saving some Sailor Moon stuff, but I digress. So after I've collected all the images I'm interested in, I will kind of assess them all and pull them into a PureRef board, which if you don't know what PureRef is, it is this unique application that lets you drag and drop images from the internet at full resolution. So instead of having to, right click, save, and save at whatever quality, PureRef is built in a way where it tries to find the highest quality image to download onto the board. And then the board itself is very free flowing. You can move the images, scale them, you can add text, notes, and it just has like a crap ton of features. I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to check it out. After I've grabbed all my images from Pinterest and put them into PureRef, I will also repeat this process for both Google and Instagram. I usually Google just to see what pops up from maybe other websites just to get more inspiration. And I definitely go on Instagram. I follow a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of Instagram artists who make One Piece fan art. So I made a board. Is it a board? Category? Folder? Whatever. I made a section on my Instagram and I just save every piece of One Piece art that I find. And then I go back and I added the ones to my PureRef board. So once I've collected all my images, once I've collected all the ones that I like, I will go into PureRef and I will start organizing everything. I will group them into different categories like, oh, I really like the colors used in this one, or oh, I'll really like the line work in this one. And because PureRef allows you to take notes, I also put like little notes off to the side for each category, each section that I'm kind of inspired by. And this is pretty much my PureRef board. After collecting my references, I started throwing ideas down. I didn't get to record this part of the process, but here's a bunch of images of the different ideas that I came up with across various notebooks and sketchbooks. So here, I didn't know if I wanted the stickers to just be their heads or draw more of the body. I know a head drawing would be easier for me to do, but I wanted to challenge myself to do a little bit more. That and I always draw heads of various characters in my own stuff, so it's like, I need a challenge. So ultimately, I went with these half body ideas of each character to show a little bit more of their personality. For this first batch of stickers, I'm not going to do like the entire Straw Hat crew. I'm only going to focus on Luffy, Zoro, and Nami, the first three. And as I do continual launches going forward, I will add more Straw Hats to the roster. So doing this brainstorm phase is important. Sometimes the first idea doesn't turn out to be the best, and you can save yourself a lot of time by trying a few ideas out in a rough, unrefined form before committing to the final drawing. Once I get all the final ideas down, it's time to move to the sketching phase. I usually sketch traditionally and move it over digitally, so I'm gonna take the final ideas that I commit to and I'm gonna move them to my sketchbook. Now, when you are sketching, you should warm up. Even outside of this specific process, do some warm-up sketches. Draw a bunch of circles, do a couple of strokes, maybe just draw a random character in the corner of your paper. Just warm up your hands to drawing, especially if you're out of practice or say that your skills aren't as hardcore. Just getting that little bit of drawing in before you commit to the final piece is going to make that final sketch look so much better. As you can see from my Luffy drawings, the first one did not look good. I was trying to push myself to draw larger as well, and that plus being not fully warmed up just did not end in a good results. Ultimately, I ended up drawing a couple different more Luffys until I settled down on this drawing here. It's the best looking one, it's the most proportional, and it took me about 4 different iterations of this Luffy drawing until I got one that I was satisfied with. Had I warmed up properly before starting, I could have saved myself so much more time. I ended up struggling with Zoro and Nami as well. For Zoro, it took me about 2 attempts to get the Zoro design that I like, and for Nami, by that point, I was very warmed up. It again only took me 2 attempts to find the final version. To be fair, the first one I sketched was perfect, but I decided to sketch another one just in case my brain did a thing and the second one looked better. Ultimately, the first one looked good on Nami, so we're just gonna go from there. So once I've got all my sketches done, it's time to move over to Clip Studio Paint to start rendering them. For this set of stickers, I wanted to do a monochromatic color scheme. I originally pulled some color palettes from the website colors.com, but ended up not using them. As you can see, as I was starting off with my Luffy, I was picking a few colors to try out, but just was not happy with the result. So just like the sketching process, you want to do some warm-ups digitally as well. The way I do this, I will do a very messy, unrefined version of the line art and figure out the colors of my drawings. I didn't record most of that process. I think I have some clips of like the Clip Studio recording for just kind of me going through and figuring out the colors for just Luffy alone. But this kind of helps, again, warm up your hands to drawing on your drawing tablet. It warms up your brain to going, okay, we're going to be in rendering mode. Let's figure out colors. Let's figure out shading. Let's just go all in. I will do this for every single character. I did a rough outline. I laid down the colors. I tweaked them to get them to what I would like. And I figure out what the shading and the highlights and everything was going to look like before I moved on to the final render. I know it seems a little extra to do this step when I could just go right on in, but these are also items that I'm going to sell to people who are interested. I want to make sure they look good. I don't want my first attempt to look like chicken scratch, lines aren't clean, colors are looking a little jank, and so on. Someone's gonna buy these, so I want to make sure I am producing the best quality drawing for these stickers. So once I've done my little warm up and I figured out my colors, I move into the final line art. And as you can see, I took my time making sure these lines looked good. I redrew a line as many times as it took to make sure it was straight, it was crisp, it was clean. I'd go back in and meticulously clean up and erase little areas, and I did this for every single character at the same time. So I did Luffy's line art, then I moved to Zoro's line art, then I moved to Nami's line art. Working on all the characters at the same time is a tip that I actually got from a Firefire video. I'll link it below, but she suggested doing art for characters of the same series in the same file, so you can compare how they look and keep things cohesive across the various designs, which is a really smart idea. I kind of do that already with other drawings, but not to the same degree. She's saying draw them all on the same canvas. I would draw them all in the same file. Had I not found this advice, I would have started with Luffy, completed him, then moved 100% complete him, then moved to Zoro, 100% complete him, and then moved to Nami, 100% complete him. But by having them all drawn at the same time on the same canvas, it really helped me keep things consistent. So, fun fact, despite me figuring out my colors, I still wasn't satisfied with how Luffy was looking. I wanted to do a red monochromatic theme for him, and I just wasn't picking the right colors. So I said, you know what, screw it. We'll go to his normal colors, lay down the flats, and we'll come back to it. So whatever I did in my warm-up, I wasn't happy with, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna let this stop me. I've got Luffy's flat colors down. Let me move to Zoro and I can come back to Luffy if I figure something out. So I move on to Zoro. I start laying down his colors, doing little tweaks, figuring out how I want things to look. I wasn't satisfied with Zoro. So then I moved on to Nami and I started putting her colors down. And when I got to Nami, it clicked. Her color palette is very simple. Now this is her default color palette, not the monochromatic scheme I'm going for. So she has her orange hair, her brown eyes, her peachy skin, and then she has white and blue on her shirt. For whatever reason, when I laid down her main colors first, I don't know, something clicked in my brain and I hit the right tone of colors and I was like, ooh, wait a minute, these look good. And I took the blue and I moved it to be orange because that's what I wanted for the design. And I was like, oh snap, these colors actually go really, really good together. Heck yeah, I can actually go back to Luffy now and figure out his colors. what I did is that I color picked all of Nami's colors, made a little color palette next to Luffy, and then I started tweaking her colors into the reds to make the monochromatic Luffy design. I can tell you right now, if I hadn't drawn all these characters in the same canvas at the same time, it would have taken me twice as long to figure out these colors and how they harmonize and figure stuff out. So I can say it's very beneficial if you are drawing, say, or maybe you have a few characters from like the same idea or concept. Try drawing them at the same time and comparing them to each other as you draw each iteration. Because like even when I was working on the line art, I did Luffy's first, and when I moved on to Zoro, I was about almost done, and I started comparing it to the Luffy one to realize, oh, I drew Zoro's line art thinner than Luffy's fan art. And I was like, wait a minute, what? How the heck did that happen? So then I had to completely redraw Zoro's line work to match the thickness of Luffy's line work. And then from there, by the time I got into Nami, I had perfectly figured out the line work. So from here, I'm just tweaking the colors, getting the line work all cleaned up. I'm adding the shading and so on. So this is how everything looks so far. I'm really pleased with how everything turned out. I tweaked Luffy's hair a little bit more. I added some highlights that wasn't originally in kind of like the idea that I wanted. And I just think these look really, really good. Also, fun fact, I ended up drawing the wrong Nami design first. I ended up taking a picture of both designs I had in my sketchbook, and I ended up doing the small one first, thinking that was the correct one. So I actually had to go back and redo the line art for Nami so that it was the correct drawing. Now that everything's done, let's move to some print testing. I set up a file that is the same size as my sticker paper, and then I will drop the designs into the file and scale them down by like a lot. I want to maximize the paper that I'm using for like all these different print tests. I get everything to scale and I make a bunch of copies on separate layers. This is very, very important. You want to make sure that each copy you make and move around is on a separate layer. And I do this because when it is time to print, I will turn all the layers off except for the one that I want to print. I will go to my printer, print this one drawing, and look at the colors. Usually when I do print testing for stuff, I will just print the picture as it is, no tweaks, no adjustments, just to see how it looks so I know where to go from there. As you can see with this first print of Luffy, the colors came out good, but it was a little dull. I now know for the second print, I need to bump up the brightness a little bit to get his hair to show up a little bit better, and maybe bump the saturation a little bit so that those colors can try to come out a little bit better. So for the layer I just printed, I will turn that one off, and then I'll turn on the next layer. I'll make my tweaks to it, increase the brightness, decrease the saturation, and then I will print just that one. You want to make sure that when you're putting the piece of paper back into the printer, you put it in the same orientation the first time. So for me, that would be upside down from the rear feeder. That way, when it prints, it's gonna print right next to the one that printed previously, but not overlap or fight each other. And I'm going to repeat this process over and over and over until I get colors that I like. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, cool, you're making all these adjustments to the tiny versions, but how do you move that over to the big version? Well, kick it old school. I took notes. So as you can see on my notebook, as I was doing each iteration of Luffy, I was writing down, okay, I was increasing the brightness, I was decreasing the saturation, I was shifting the hue over by a couple points, and I would just take notes of what I did until I find the perfect one. Now, fun fact, these first 3 prints were using the wrong printer settings. Yeah, I don't know, I got too excited and I started printing and I didn't even realize that I had done the wrong printer settings. So in Clip Studio Paint, when I pressed print, I make sure to pick the correct paper that I was using and the correct settings, but I did not mirror those paper type settings on my printer. It was set to luster paper and not matte paper, so my colors actually came out a lot more faded than they were supposed to. Lo and behold, once everything was synced up and I had all the correct settings, my colors came out beautifully. So then I had to completely redo my sticker printing process for Luffy. So I'm gonna grab my notebook just to tell you like what those final settings were. So for Luffy, I had to increase the brightness by 10 and the saturation by 3 across the entire thing. Then I selected the hair and I increased the brightness by 18, the contrast by 10, and the saturation by 3. Right, and then I went back and added a luminosity of 5. Taking all those notes to know that I'm getting the exact type of print that I want, it's just gonna help me apply those to the final sticker design later. And I will repeat this process for both Zoro and Nami. So interestingly enough, Zoro and Nami were dang near perfect. I only had to make slight tweaks to Zoro's skin tone to match what I had on my screen because it originally printed a little bit, I guess, normal, peachier in a way. And I wanted his skin tone to push a little bit more into the yellows because, again, I'm going for that monochromatic color scheme. So, you know, he has his green hair, the outline is green. So I only had to make adjustments to Zoro's skin specifically. And then for Nami, she was just perfect. I literally did one print and I was like, oh, I ain't gotta make no tweaks. Thanks, printer. Now, once I got all my colors figured out, I went back into the main files and I started setting things up to move into my cutting software. So I cleaned up the file, I separated everyone into their own folder, and then from there, I applied the color tweaks that I did for each one, except for Nami, because she was perfect. Of course, she'd be perfect. So I applied the color tweaks and then exported each one on a transparent background on their own image by themselves. So then that way I can drop them into my cutting software. Now to set up the cutting software, I open up my print template, which is just a file that I made that has all my sheet settings already figured out so I don't have to do it every single time. I take the full size image and I drop it into Silhouette Studio. For whatever reason, you can't just import images onto a canvas. It makes a whole new canvas. So I have to copy, paste it into my template, and then adjust the size from there. In my Silhouette review video, I made the stickers to scale, like exactly the size that I wanted, and then I brought them into the software. So this time around, I'm testing out how it would be if I take my 600 resolution file and scale it down to see if the compression inside the program is pretty good, which I can say with confidence, it's pretty dang good. Also, I wanted to try scaling it to size in the Silhouette software because the Silhouette software will give you a very accurate number of what size the stickers will be. I scaled it down and I got it to be in the range of about 2.5 inches wide to 3 inches long. And here you can see it's giving me the exact dimensions of the sticker, which I really like because when you're selling items, you want to make sure that in your detail section of like the product listing, you have the size of the sticker. So at least people know what size they're getting. So from here, I've got it scaled down to the perfect size. I'm just going to rearrange them on sheet to fit as many as I can. I went ahead and did everyone. It looks like for the Nami and Luffy designs, I can fit about 9 designs per sheet, which is actually really good. That's going to save me a lot of paper when printing. And surprisingly, for the Zoro design, because he's technically a little bit smaller compared to everyone else, I think he was about 1.5 inches wide, I can fit 12 of him on one sheet. So yeah, I got a lot of Zoro stickers. Now that you have everything arranged on the sheet and this is what your design is going to look like, save them. So that way, if you need to make more stickers in the future and the design hasn't changed, you can just open up this file in the software, print, cut, and go about your day. But once you start making updates to that file, you're gonna have to make an updated version of the sheet to save. Everything is good to go. You wanna make sure that these registration marks in the corners are on. If they're not on for you, you can just go to this box here, go to this tab, and where it says turn on registration marks, check that box, and then boom, they're done. You need to have these on because that's how the machine knows where to cut. When you pop it into the machine, it's gonna scan those black boxes first, and then it'll start the cutting process. So if you don't have those on sheet, the machine's not gonna know what to do. So once everything is good to go, you're just gonna send these to your printer and let them print. Once they're all done printing, don't slap on your laminate immediately. Just give your paper some time to dry. When things are printed on paper, they come out a little bit darker than what they are dried. So you want to give them about 30 minutes to an hour to completely dry so that you can avoid smudging, so you can get the most accurate colors for your stickers. I'm doing matte stickers, but especially for glossy, you want to make sure that paper is dry so you can avoid a lot of smudging. After they are properly dry, you're going to put on the laminate. For me, I'm going for matte stickers with a matte laminate. So I have this matte laminate from, I honestly do not remember the name right now. I will leave it up on screen. It's a really nice quality. It's a little expensive, but I think it's worth the cost. Here is what you want to do to put laminate on flawlessly every single time. Take your laminate paper. You're gonna peel a little bit of it off. Just peel like the top 1 inch off, and then the backing paper, fold it down and away from the sticky side. So that way you have about maybe 1/2 inch to like 1 inch of the laminate exposed. Then you're gonna take the sticky side of the laminate and just very carefully align it with your paper. You're going to press down the laminate to the paper and make sure that that top portion is on really good. If you have a squeegee or like a ruler or just like a soft long item that you can use to kind of like press down and get the air bubbles out, grab one. This one in particular is the size of a sheet of paper, so it's kind of perfect for putting down laminate. You're gonna take the squeegee and you're gonna put it down on the laminate side and just kind of like give it a little quick little press for what's already down and get out any air bubbles. Then that little tab that you folded previously, you're gonna grab that from the back and slowly start moving the backing paper away from the laminate. And then as you do that, you're gonna wanna take your squeegee and start pressing down the laminate to the sticker paper. And you're just gonna like pull it up a little bit, lay it down, smooth it with the squeegee, pull it a little bit, smooth it out with the squeegee, and you'll repeat this process until the laminate is completely on the paper. This is the easiest way that I have found to apply laminate to paper and reduce the amount of air bubbles and gaps. You can thank my bestie Indigo Ferret Craft. She showed me how to do this. She was also making stickers for her business, and she did a lot of research on how to apply laminate. And this is the process that she found to be the most efficient for her. And honestly, when you get good at this, you'll be putting on laminate like a machine. It's so flawless. It's so easy. It reduces the amount of headache. It's a process. I really like this way. Also, while you're doing this, take your time. Please do not rush through this process because you can run the risk of messing up. I tried to apply the laminate in a completely different way just to kind of experiment and see what happened. And that was a big mistake. I completely ruined a sheet of stickers. The laminate's all squished up in the middle and I ruined this. And you know, supplies can get a little expensive over time. The cost of paper, the cost of ink, the cost of laminate. So you just want to take your time applying these items so that you're not messing anything up like I did. So once the laminate is applied, you're going to apply it to your sticky mat. For this mat, there's going to be a marking in the upper left-hand corner. You want to align your corner of the paper to this, but specifically the corner that has the black box. You want to make sure that these corners align because that's going to help keep things in alignment for the machine. So when it scans these boxes and marks, it knows where to cut because you can put it on any old way you want, but your cuts are going to come out crooked. Kind of press it down on the mat, make sure like the stickiness kind of adheres to the backing sheet and that nothing will shift around while you're cutting. You will take the edge of the sticky mat and you're going to align it with this line. You don't want it over, you don't want it too far to the right, you want it right up against that line. There's going to be like a tiny little lip so you'll be able to feel it bump into it a bit. Once you have that, you're going to press the up button on the machine and it's going to pull it and lock it in place. You shouldn't be able to move it. It should be locked in. Then you want to move back to the Silhouette software, press the send tab and verify your settings. The settings I have here is using a cardstock setting, changing the blade to 6, the passes to 2, the speed to 32, and the speed to 2 and the force to 32. These are the settings that I found work with my particular sticker paper and laminate. You're going to want to experiment with your own papers and laminates and just to make sure that it works. You verified your settings. You're going to press send. So on the machine, it's going to kick into gear. It's going to start by scanning the black box and the 2 black marks on the paper. Once it's scanned it, if everything is fine, if everything is good and nothing is wrong, it will start the cutting process. So while the machine is cutting, let's talk about an issue that I ran into. On this first pass of Luffy stickers, you can see that the machine is kind of doing this very spazzy motion that I'm not a super fan of. And if you have a Silhouette machine or if you've heard videos of Silhouette machines, they are loud. So hearing this was not a pleasant. And it made me think, okay, something's wrong. What's wrong here? I checked the software and I couldn't find anything. Usually when it's stuttery like this, that implies that your outline isn't completely smooth. But I checked Clip Studio, I checked Silhouette software. As far as I could see, the outline was as smooth as possible. So I'm trying to figure out where is this jaggedness coming from. I do a little research and come to find out that for the Silhouette software, sometimes when it's making its little outline that it's going to cut by, it translates complicated shapes into multiple edit points. So when you go into the software, you double click on the design, it's going to show these little gray dots. Those are all the little edit points that it created for its cut line. Why it does this, I'm not sure, but the way you can fix it is you select the item while the edit points are on. On the right hand side, there'll be a box that shows up and there'll be a section that says simplify. Click that button. It's going to reduce those edit points down to just the main points that it needs to create the overall silhouette. If you zoom in really far, you can see that they're a lot smoother. For whatever reason, this worked. So I went ahead and I applied it to the other 2 sheets just to kind of fix the issue. Thankfully, I didn't have to reprint the sheets that I already had. I just stuck them in the printer with the new like outline and it worked perfectly fine. But for the Luffy stickers, I had already cut out this batch. The outline of the sticker was a little scratchy and kind of bumpy, and I didn't really like that. So I went ahead and printed a new sheet and got the smoother outline. I'll put a comparison up on screen. As you can see, for the smooth outline, it came out, as you can see, I'm like rubbing my finger across the top of it and it's pretty smooth. But for the rough one, it's hard to tell, but if I zoom in really close, you can kind of see a little bit of like a bumpy kind of rough line around the outside. I don't know what that issue was, but that's how you solve it. One of the reasons you may want to troubleshoot this and just make sure that you have that smooth outline is because I had 9 stickers and I want to say it took about 8 minutes to cut the whole sheet, because it had to do this really jagged line and it had to pass over the same design twice. It took a long time to get them done. Once I fixed the issue, the stickers were done cutting in less than like 2 or 3 minutes. So yeah, definitely look into that if you come across this issue, because it's gonna save you so much time. Now, I create my outlines in Clip Studio and I just move it over to Silhouette, so I don't have to use more features of the software to create the outline. But my friend, Indigo Ferret Craft, she recommended try to do an outline made from the software. I didn't do any testing for this particular batch because I got it to work, but the way you would make an outline for your stickers inside the software is that you'll take the design, drop it into Silhouette software. There's going to be this one here. This is the offset setting. You're going to click that and then it's going to show you these little boxes here. So from here, you're going to tweak the offset. I just recommend messing around with the settings a little bit. The little red outline that shows up around your design is what the machine's gonna use to cut by. But I just wanted to share that just in case you don't want to pre-make your outlines and you want to use the software to avoid this issue. Just to explain what I'm doing here real quick, I'm telling Silhouette which lines to cut. So the new outline that I made, I'm applying the cut filter, and the old sticker design, I'm selecting it and I'm applying the no cut filter. That's gonna let the software know, hey, only cut the red lines. Anything that's fitted out, don't do it. So the stickers are finally done. I'm so excited. All of these stickers are for a shop launch that I plan on doing later on this summer. I'm kind of aiming for August, but we'll see how far we go. I am very behind. So let me show you what the stickers look like. So we have the Luffy sticker. I think he turned out super freaking cute. This is probably my favorite out of all the 3. We have my husband Zoro, which I think he looks absolutely adorable. Look at him all menacing. Like, he's got his sword ready. You see it. He's ready to go down. And then of course we have our Nami design, because Nami wouldn't be Nami without a little bit of bling bling, a little bit of belly. So, you know, for non-One Piece fans, belly is money. It's pretty much like the currency in the world. So here are all 3 designs. I'm really happy with how they all turned out, but let's talk about my final thoughts on everything. Takeaway number 1 from this entire process is plan ahead. If I hadn't thought about these designs for months on end, figure out the sketching, get the references, and just really flesh out this idea, I feel like it would have taken me a lot longer to figure out how to harmonize everything. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the whole concept for these stickers was that A, I wanted to do One Piece characters, and B, I wanted them to have more of a kind of a monochromatic color scheme. A lot of One Piece fan art I see, it's like the characters and they're usually in like an outfit from like a movie or a TV series, but no one really plays around with like their primary colors. I see it a lot in like fan art online, but I haven't actually seen it being sold, so I figured, why not be the first? I had to plan so far ahead to get that done. I had to look up references. I had to figure out the color palettes. I had to figure out, you know, the sketching and the posing. And it was just so much research and planning that went into it, to where I got through all 3 of these designs in one day. One day? Yeah, we're gonna say one day, about a day. It's worth of work, and I got all 3 of them done. Had I not planned ahead, I feel like it would have taken me significantly longer to get it done. So definitely, if you're gonna do like a batch of stickers or like a series of stickers or just stickers in general, just take the time to really plan out and organize your ideas, organize your thought. I did a lot of practice sketching as well, just to make sure that the poses were gonna come out good and so on. So my second takeaway from all of this is that if you're making a set of designs that all have like a similar concept, do them all at the same
time, or draw them all on the same canvas. I got this piece of advice from a creator named Sciafire. She was covering her process of creating products and her display for her very first convention, and that was a tip of her process that she shared. I think she was doing some Genshin fan art. She had about 3 or 4 different characters on her canvas, and she was kind of doing all the sketches, then she did all the line work, then she did all the colors, and then she did all the final touches all at the same time. And she shared that that's something that you should do if you're doing kind of things that kind of fit within the same series. That helped out a ton. You have no freaking idea how helpful that was, because normally if I was going to make all 3D stickers, I would make one canvas, do the Luffy, finish, next canvas, do the Zoro, finish, next canvas, do the Nami, finish. And because I kind of did them all on the same canvas at the same time, I actually caught a lot of issues, like a lot of inconsistencies, because the way I went through it is I started with the sketchings. I did all the sketching in like their own separate pages, but it was all in like the same drawing session, if that makes sense. So when it came to do it digitally, I started with Luffy. I got his line work done. I'm like, all right, it's beautiful, it's perfect, it's amazing. And then I moved to Zoro. I kind of started rushing a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get all this line work done. I gotta get all these colors done. So I move on to Zoro, and about halfway through, I'm like, oh, let me make sure that, everything looks good to the Luffy line art. Come to find out that the Zoro line art that I was drawing was thinner than the Luffy line art. So I actually had to go back and redo all the Zoro line art, which was what? So, and that was me kind of rushing a little bit. So definitely take your time when you're doing these, but I'll talk on that a little bit later. So I slowed down. I kind of like matched the line work to the Luffy one, and then things were a little bit more consistent. And because I had caught it on the Zoro, by the time I had gotten to Nami, it was like done because I knew which line weight to use and so on. Then the biggest help of doing it all on the same canvas was when it came to the colors, because I started with Luffy. I put down all his flat colors down first, and I had picked colors from this palette, but I wasn't like a super big fan of it, and I was just like, what the heck is this? This isn't working good. I don't like it. So I just went to his normal colors and I said, you know what, let me just lay down some flat colors and I'll move on to the next one. So I did Zoro and I laid down his flat colors, tried to do some tweaks, didn't work out. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll just move on to Nami. I moved to Nami, I do her flat colors, and I was like, wait a minute, my brain is telling me that her colors are kind of matching pretty well. So I took the non-blue colors and I shifted them to orange, and I was like, wait a minute, these actually look really, really good. So then Nami's color palette became the baseline to tweak everyone else's color palettes. So I was able to go to Nami, copy her colors, move them to Luffy, apply them, shift them over to the reds, and then from there I was able to tweak it to where now Luffy looks really, really good. And it was all thanks to figuring out Nami's colors first, because she drove how Luffy looked, and once Luffy was figured out, we figured out how to do Zoro's colors better. So now when you put all 3 stickers together, they like harmonize with each other very, very well, which is what I wanted. So yeah, doing them all together on the same canvas helped, and it also helped speed up the process because I was able to go line work, colors, shadows, details, like all in like these different little phases. So I was getting them done very quickly because I do the first one, and because I'm warmed up, I do the next one, and because I'm warmed up, the last one just goes by so quickly. So yes, if you're doing things with the same design series, maybe you're gonna do like a Halloween themed set of stickers, and they're all kind of in like that same idea. Try drawing them all on the same canvas, because that way you can kind of keep things a little bit more consistent with each other. And my last takeaway from all of this is to take your time creating these designs. Why? Because someone out there in this world is going to want to purchase those. They are willing to part with their hard-earned money for your drawing. So they want something that's worth their dollar. If you've rushed through a design, the line work's a little bit messy, the colors are a little bit off, just so you can get something out there, can you really feel good knowing that you're selling a product that doesn't look that good? I sure as heck don't. I don't want to sell something to someone that isn't my best possible work. Just take your time, don't rush. You saw where rushing got me. Zoro's line art was almost 2 times thinner than everyone else because I decided I wanted to rush. So no, take your time, slow down, work through the process. I know it can be really exciting and like you really want to get them done. Like y'all don't know how excited I am that these stickers are done. Like I'm gonna put them on my water bottle, on my notebook, and my sticker, but I digress. I'm really excited that these stickers are done, and plus I really love One Piece, so I'm happy that I have like some One Piece art that I made myself. All that excitement, you wanna, kind of reel it in and just channel it calmly into your drawings. You don't want to rush through anything. You want to make sure that if you have more of a cartoony style like I do, you want to make sure that your line work is good. If you have more of like a painterly or more of a blended style, you want to make sure that it's being rendered properly. You don't want to rush through and then have like those 2 or 3 customers that go,
ew. Why does it look like this? Why is it all messy?
So you don't want that. So just take your time when creating these pieces. It'll be worth your while, I promise. You're gonna make a better product, something that you're more proud of, and you'll be able to, show off something cool and make it worth people's coin to wanna buy your stuff. So I hope this video has helped give you a good idea of what it's like to create stickers from beginning to end, from coming up with the idea all the way to the final product. These stickers are going to be a part of my shop launch later on this summer. If you would like to be notified when the shop goes live, or maybe you just want some little nuggets of what's going on in the business behind the scenes, you should sign up for my newsletter. I'll leave a link in the description below for you to sign up. This newsletter is a way for me to communicate with you guys outside of YouTube, outside of Instagram, outside of TikTok, and just keep you guys regularly updated on the different things that I'm working on behind the scenes. Also, when you sign up for the newsletter, you will get this free wallpaper for your phone. This is my clown baby, Luna. If you recognize her from the drawing video, I will leave it somewhere. I will leave it somewhere up on the screen, but if you sign up, you will get this wallpaper for free. It's just like a small thank you for signing up for this newsletter. So I'm not going to spam you guys. I hate getting freaking spam emails too. So if you sign up for the newsletter, maybe about once or twice a month, I'll send an email updating about the shop, talking about various videos going on, some things with the business, and so on. If that sounds interesting to you, it'll be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope this video helps you make some great stickers, and I'll see you in the next video.